Hello, YouTube. Today, I'm thanking you for tuning in. The purpose of this audio lecture is to provide a quoted selection of text from the book, How to Get Into the Top Law Schools, 4th edition, written by Richard Montauk. This book can be purchased online at any number of retail stores, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere else you find books and so on. The benefit of listening to this podcast, this audio lecture, is that once you understand that there's a formula to follow and you begin following the formula, there's really nothing standing in your way when you want to go out and achieve your dreams, getting into Harvard, Yale, things like that. Just developing and following a plan, making a specific marketing strategy, marketing image that you have for the admissions board, the admissions committee. In other words, you should maximize your reward-risk ratio. Now let's begin. A reading from the book, How to Get Into the Top Law Schools, 4th edition, written by Richard Montauk. For an idea of what's contained in the book, let me go right into the executive summaries of chapters 5, 8, and 9 contained therein. The three critical factors in chapter 5 are brains, legal potential, and personal attributes. Admissions committees ascertain to what degree you possess these items first and foremost from the credentials you present. Your credentials include your academic record, your performance on the SAT or the TOEFL for international applicants, your work experience, your extracurricular, personal, and community activities. Although even candidates with less than stellar credentials can market themselves effectively by writing essays well, getting recommenders to write favorably about them, and interviewing well, you will make the application process easier on yourself if you start out with strong credentials. Chapter 8, Executive Summary. Making the most of your credentials. Although candidates with less than stellar credentials can do well in the admissions by marketing themselves effectively, the job is much easier for those with excellent credentials. Learn how to maximize the various credentials that admissions officers will evaluate. These include your academic record, your LSAT or SAT score, your work experience, your extracurricular, personal, and community activities. Chapter 9, Executive Summary. Marketing yourself. Understand how you compare with the competition. Learn how admissions officers will view your candidacy based upon the expectations of people from your field and educational background. Position yourself well, capitalizing on your strengths while minimizing your weaknesses in light of school's expectations. Use themes to focus your marketing effort. Learn how to use a special case status to your advantage. Positioning is a marketing concept that is meant to deal with the problem of too many applicants trying to capture the attention of admissions directors who are overwhelmed by the onslaught. To cut through all of this communications haze, you must have a very sharp and clear image that is readily noticed and understood and valued. Let's look at an example that is dear to my heart. There are many types of whiskey, even of Scotch whiskey, and even of single malt Scotch whiskey. Nonetheless, there are a number of products that are distinctively positioned in the market for single malt Scotch. For example, Laprog is a single malt Scotch with a peaty air, more iodine taste than its competitors. This is called the nose of the Scotch. Its unique attributes allow it to market itself to consumers who consider themselves beyond the beginner's Scotches and who want the strongest possible taste they can find. Macallan, on the other hand, is exceptionally smooth and even bears a certain resemblance to cognac. It tells consumers that its product is aged in old sherry casks, which impart a distinctive hint of sherry in the nose. Their marketing efforts aim to make it very clear what key attributes they possess, and they are very successful at doing this. Both are held in extremely high regard by serious malt Scotch whiskey drinkers. although they are considered virtually unrelated to one another. The result is that each can claim a price premium for its distinctiveness that would be impossible if they were positioned to compete head-to-head. Now, applying this concept to yourself, how does this apply to you? You must distinguish yourself from others in the applicant pool who may apply to the same schools you do. Law school applicants are not all the same. Your job is to show your uniqueness. You increase your value by appearing unique. After all, if you are the same as 2,500 other applicants, what school will really care if it gets you rather than one of the 2,499? Once you have analyzed your situation and recognized where you stand, you should be aware of what an admissions officer is likely to see as your strengths and weaknesses. Your job is now to capitalize on this understanding. First, you will want to support any of the strengths you do indeed have. You can relate stories in your essays that show you, for example, as an effective leader. Just as important, you can and should have your recommenders provide supporting examples. Second, do whatever you can to minimize your weaknesses, or better yet, show that you do not suffer from them. Once again, it is a matter of addressing them through each of the vehicles at your disposal: the essays, the recommendations, and for some schools, interviews. Let's begin with a few examples. If you have a clear idea of where you are headed and why, you can add substantially to the value of your credentials. Imagine two different candidates. Lisa has a degree in economics and has worked for 3 years as an analyst in an investment bank. She intends to return to the investment banking world, working in-house as a transactional lawyer. George, on the other hand, has a degree in general studies and has worked a series of odd jobs for the last few years. He states that he wants to be a lawyer in order to help others, although he gives no specifics for how he intends to accomplish this. Imagine that Lisa and George both have similar LSAT and SAT scores and GPA results. Indeed, their academic records look comparable if you ignore George's lack of focus. Which of the two would you take? In fact, Lisa is surely the stronger candidate. Admissions officers will readily understand her candidacy and implicitly award her bonus points for having explored her career option in advance of law school. They know that she will make what will be valuable to her in her chosen career. Similarly, her prior work in the field and her continuing career suggests that she will be a valuable contributor at law school. The tasks facing people with different profiles will, of course, be different. Take another example. A legal assistant to a congressman faces a very different task from that of a commercial photographer in trying to maximize the reward-risk ratio. The legislative assistant is likely to be regarded as being quite bright and determined, with strong research and analysis skills, a good understanding of law, without being much risk to the program. After several years' work, she knows enough about how law is practiced that there is essentially no danger she will fail out of the program, or lose interest in law, or be unplaceable in a good job upon graduation. She therefore looks like an easy admit because she brings good experience and qualities to the program without any risk. The problem for her, however, is that she is but one among congressional aides and others involved in the legislative process, many of whom bring similar qualities. To improve her chances of admission, she must show that she is quite different from those other assistants in terms of her range of work, the depth of her understanding of a specific area of law, or 2 or 3, her success to date, and or how she intends to employ her law degree in the future. The commercial photographer is in a nearly opposite situation. In his case, the problem is not what he brings to the program. He is likely to be the only photographer applying, so he has considerable uniqueness value to start with. Fit in and stand out. Another way to think about the reward-risk ratio is, as many admissions directors put it, fit in and stand out. Fitting in means you are accepted by your classmates as belonging in the program rather than being regarded as an oddity. If you can do the coursework, subscribe to the program's goals, and get on well with the other students, you will fit in. Standing out means you bring something unique to the program. People will tend to fall more on one side of the divide than the other. The paralegal need not worry that she will fail to fit in. The photographer need not worry about standing out. His problem is showing that he fits in. The trick, obviously, is to fit in and stand out at one and the same time. It is not sufficient to do just one of these things. Saying that you really fit in, that you look like a composite of all the other students, gives the school no reason to want you there because you bring nothing different and therefore nothing special. Saying that you really stand out, that you do not resemble any of the other students in any relevant way, is similarly useless because you may be seen as too risky to have in the program. The way to straddle this apparent divide is to fit in. Now let's cover essays and personal statements. With few exceptions, the top law programs in the country require a personal statement from each applicant. The essay offers you the chance to show schools who you really are. Take advantage of this opportunity. Recommenders can show only a part of who you are, since most of them are instructors or employers and have thus seen you in only one context. Many schools do not offer everyone the chance to interview as part of the admissions process. In addition, interviews are not under your control to the same extent as the personal statement, which can be rewritten and re-examined to make sure that the real you is presented. Your personal statements can and should be presenting a clear picture of you, but they do not need to tell all. Sketching in the main points with appropriate stories will show who you are. In fact, whenever possible, try to tell a story rather than write an essay. Here are some quotes by famous academic senior faculty. Take another example. Successfully showing how the school fits your interests and needs is of great benefit to you and to us. Ideally, Columbia wants a community of people who have chosen to attend Columbia because of the many opportunities and resources it offers, and not simply by default. Nickwine Uribon, Columbia University. It's enormously valuable to show that you are interested in our school and would fit well here. Institutions are like people and wanting to see that you are interested in them. Be sure your messages are consistent. Presenting yourself accurately, honestly, and thoughtfully is critical. It's important that the messages we get from the different pieces of the application are consistent, that the letters of recommendation match the personal statement, which matches the extracurricular profile, etc. This makes the picture comprehensible and credible. Joyce Curl, Harvard. When an applicant mentions the type of law he or she intends to practice in the future, our first instinct is to check the related data. We want to see whether she can back it up. Has she been active in groups related to this field, for example? If she can back it up, it's great. She definitely helps her candidacy. At the extreme, this might mean a family therapist intending to practice family law. Boston College. Here's one from Yale. Yale University. I look for the connection between people's stated interests and their demonstrated commitments and accomplishments. NYU. Think of your application as a complete package. In particular, decide what qualities and experiences you want to emphasize. Each piece of your application should contribute to the picture that you want to present. For example, you can give your recommenders suggestions about what to emphasize in order to fit in with your overall approach. Any seasoned admissions officer knows well that any applicant may compose an application essay laying claims to strong character, sound values, noble ideals, and impressive achievements, and many do. At Columbia, however, we are sure to place any professional claims of an application essay in the context of the rest of their application, indeed in the context of their lives. we study how the applicant has actually chosen to use his or her time, energies, and talents. We look at the choices applicants have made in their academic lives, in their workplace, and in planning their careers, in their communities, in extracurriculars, perhaps in their political and religious lives. Jim Milligan, Columbia. Consistency is definitely a virtue. You are telling your story, which has not only a beginning, middle, and end, but also multiple pieces and perspectives. And inconsistent pieces raise questions about the basic message. Sit back and consider your whole application as if seeing it for the first time. Well, thank you for listening. I hope this lecture has provided you some insights on what you need to do in order to prepare for a college application, scholarship application, or a college of your choice. I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel for future videos as well. See you for the next lecture.